Australia's stock market set new record highs this week, and many analysts believe some sectors, such as the banks, are becoming overvalued. A new report from Morningstar found that when compared to other indexes around the world, the ASX is starting to look unattractive. I spoke to Morningstar's APAC Chief Investment Officer, Matt Wacher.
It's not that we think Australia's, we don't want to have any investments in Australia, but far from it. But we just think on a relative basis, relative to some of the other opportunities out there, some of the emerging markets, etc., that Australia's probably have maybe an underweight exposure to Australia. But certainly under the hood, there's still some opportunities.
Yeah, just explain the run that Australia's market has really had over the past 12 months.
Yeah, it's been a really good run, and it's really been driven by banks. I think fund managers are still thinking about whether to start chasing CBA or not, but certainly the banks have been a key driver there. Even utilities and other areas like consumer discretionary have even done really well this year as well. And it's kicked on again this month ever since Trump got elected again. I think those sectors that I spoke of up about 7% each of them, this just for the month alone.
Yeah, I mean, the market has hit 2 record highs this week. Yep. American markets as well, doing very well at exactly the same time too.
Yeah, definitely. And the US, I mean, that's really been, had that 2022 kind of downturn, and from then on it's been kind of onwards and upwards for sure. And that's really been driven by what they call the Magnificent Seven, or maybe there's only 6 of them now, who knows. But the Magnificent Seven, the big tech stocks, the Apples and Nvidias, have done really, really well. And I think that it's not that they're bad stocks, but we'd be taking a little bit off the table there. Very high quality names, but the high jump bar, eventually even the best athletes knock it off.
Yeah, exactly. How would you rate the strength of Australia's economy right now?
Look, it's interesting. I think that it's very mixed. I think the RBA has a very delicate task. We've seen inflation's come down a lot, but not quite enough for the RBA at this stage, it seems. And I think that really underpinned by very strong unemployment numbers. Even if the headline growth numbers have been and sort of retail sales, those sorts of things have been soft, we're seeing unemployment is just remains very low. So it's a very mixed kind of message out there. I think relative to other markets. I think in Europe, UK even, they're kind of bottoming out perhaps. You never want to say bottoming out for the European economy, but there may be some tailwind coming there with rate cuts. I think the US is reasonably strong still, and Australia, as I say, mixed. So potentially, if we do get some rate cuts in the back end of next year, we'll see some further upside in the Australian economy.
Yeah, a lot of economists are pushing back those rate cut forecasts. I think ANZ Bank today went from February back to May. Could we see a potential, repricing of rates in the future? Are they going to be higher than what the market was initially thinking a couple of years ago?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's certainly what economists out there are thinking. We don't necessarily predict rates. I could make a case if we had half an hour here to either side of the fence. It's a really difficult decision. I think that there could be rate cuts early in the year, especially if China growth doesn't come back and we see some softness in the Australian economy start to filter through, especially unemployment. But I could also make the case that, there may not be a rate cut in 2025. It's really difficult to say at this point in time. And if inflation doesn't come down, if we do get some flow-on effects from any of Trump's policies and unemployment hangs in there, then the case for not having a rate cut becomes stronger by the month.
We mentioned Trump this week. He put out on Truth Social some new tariffs that he wants to put on Chinese goods, Canadian and Mexican. Just talk to us about the China economy and how important that is for Australia and how much it's really struggled.
Yeah, the Chinese economy, and really on the back of property, I'm sure, and the COVID lockdowns has really meant that the consumer there is really under a lot of pressure, or at least they're very negative towards the economy. They're not getting out and spending. There's lots of things going on there. That really has meant that anyone that depends on the Chinese economy, Australian economy, is really suffering a little bit. And I think that if tariffs come, it's a one-off kind of hit to inflation, but still not a great thing. I think the China economy will be very up and down. Really thinking about whether they want to add more stimulus at this point in time. I think they're certainly, given that that's the direction they're headed on, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some more, pretty substantial stimulus coming out of China fairly soon.
And looking ahead to next year, are there any sectors that you think could do pretty well?
Look, we think that next year will really be a period of rotation. Could be a period of inflation as well. but rotation, as we spoke about, some of those big tech names in the US, I think that even in the AI kind of sector, maybe it's the enablers have done very well, the NVIDIAs, etc. Maybe it's some of the companies that are developing applications for AI that can start to take the lead in the market. Could be other sectors here in Australia, the energy sector or the materials sector. If you do get some Chinese stimulus, maybe they take off. But I think that we're fairly cautious on some of the areas that have run really well over the last little while. So I think it'll be a period of rotation into different areas. Small caps, both here and in the US, are very interesting. Have underperformed for quite some time relative to large caps, and so wouldn't be surprised to see them do really well as well.
Tell you what, Matt Wacher from Morningstar, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.